booth. Al Palowski joins us here on the Sam Berkman Show. Al, good afternoon. How we doing, my friend?
Hey, Sam. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for coming on. Hey, we played that sound clip earlier in the show of you snagging that ball, and I've watched the video a couple of times. Nice reflexes back there.
Well, thank you. I like to think I still got it. It's been a little while since I've been on a competitive ball field, like back in my 20s at some point. But, it was I saw the ball coming back and thought, well, I could get my hands on this, but I'm going to see if I can make a catch, and I was able. And thankfully, I kept Rick safe, and that was my primary goal.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't going to give you any help. I could tell by the video that wasn't going to happen. You had to do it all by yourself. So that was pretty cool. And, hey, now I think maybe you can accompany Hammy to Cooperstown now, right?
Well, yeah, that sounds like a plan. He can go in for the broadcaster's end, and I could go in for the broadcaster's Gold Glove, as MLB has nominated me for. So hopefully I can get that.
Outstanding. So a pretty good homestand, a pretty good weekend. We got a lot of people through the gates Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The weather broke a little bit, and kids are out of school, and the ballpark was the place to be. How was it for you this weekend, and what kind of feeling we have with our ball club as we get ready for New York and try to pick up win number 33 tomorrow night?
Well, hopefully we can, get it done tonight. Rodon's always a tough one to go against. He almost had that perfect game against Cleveland a few years ago when he was pitching for the White Sox. He ended up with that no-hitter. Whenever he shows up on the hill, it's generally bad news for whomever's facing him, but it seems especially Cleveland hitters. But, yeah, this past weekend against the Angels, the Guardians took care of business. They took 2 out of 3. It would have been great to get a sweep, but winning 2 out of 3 is not bad against a team that's improved this year, especially with Mike Trout returning. That makes that ball club a lot different than when he's not in the lineup or available to pinch it off the bench like he did on Sunday. We're starting to see some hitters come around. Nolan Jones is on a nice little hot streak here. In the last 4 games, he's got 8 hits. He's finally seeing some results for hitting the ball as hard as he has been. And a couple of the other guys now, Ramirez is, I don't know if he can get any hotter, but it felt like on Saturday and Sunday he got hotter than what he was, and he was pretty hot before that. Stephen Kwan got 3 hits on Saturday. And pitching-wise, Sam, the bullpen is very strong. Starters, for the most part, got a great start yesterday from Gavin Williams. Took that no-hitter into the 6th inning, and hopefully now this team's coming around. But, boy, it's a competitive division, toughest division in all of baseball. The Tigers are playing as well as they have, and since they have Justin Verlander, so it's going to be a very interesting season. But with those 3 wild card slots available, it's not as imperative to win the division as it was a few seasons ago.
Yeah, you're 6 behind Detroit, and I don't think the Tigers are going anywhere. They're just playing really good ball. But you're right. If you got to go that route, which is the wild card, which is a long way away, but if that's the way you get in, that's the way you get in. You roll the dice and you see what you can do. Gavin Williams yesterday, Al, 6 2/3. It looked like he was throwing a lot more curves and a lot more breaking pitches than fastballs yesterday. I'm assuming that was by design, scouting report, or they're just trying to help him with his command with both of those pitches.
Yeah, I think that was it. He's had a few games where he's gotten hit pretty hard, but he's also had some games where he's just been a shutdown type pitcher. So when that happens, generally it's they're figuring you out, because if you have shutdown capability, then you're pretty good. The times that you're pitching well, it's because they know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a good scouting report. We saw that against the Dodgers, and Ohtani jumped on his first pitch. So, he's given up 3 first pitch home runs this year of the ball game. So that had to change. And I think that you saw by him going to the breaking ball a lot more against the Angels, and it was a really good breaking ball too. That was as good as I've seen him throw the breaking ball, and he's always had a pretty good one. But as long as he can throw a breaking ball like that, now you really have the hitters off balance, because they can't sit on anything. If they're going to sit on the fastball and you throw them that, it's going to be awfully hard to hit it. If they're sitting on that breaking ball and then you come back with the heater, there's no way they're going to catch up to it. So that's what allowed him to pitch so well yesterday. He had really 3+ pitches. He mixed in the cutter as well, which was breaking real nice for him.
Mm-hmm.
Still had some heat behind it. So he was a lot of fun to watch pitch yesterday, and that's the sort of ability he has. So we can get that out of him more consistently, look out. I mean, he's got the ability to be an ace and be on the same level as Tanner Bybee. They're awfully close.
You know, Al Palowski is our guest, Cleveland Guardians TV. You know, if Gavin could get in that groove and get quality start after quality start, if we could get Tanner Bybee in that same kind of routine, get the quality start, 5, 6 really good innings with a good stat line, he'll start feeling better. The pen will get a little bit of a rest, and not too far down the road, maybe a month or so, Shane Bieber could be back into the mix. I mean, we've had to undergo 2 or 3 injuries with our pitchers here the last 7 to 10 days. Ben Lively, we had the tough the other night, Friday night against the Angels. Guys have had to go out for various things, but somehow, some way, Stephen Vogt has been able to keep this pitching train on track amongst a lot of adversity.
Yeah, that's been one of the pluses over the years, especially the last 10, 11 years, having that depth of pitching. So when somebody gets hurt, you've got those young kids coming up that are ready to pitch at the major league level. Now, they're not going to be shut down necessarily, like Gavin Williams can be a shutdown pitcher, and Tanner Bybee can be a shutdown pitcher. They're not going to necessarily come up and throw like that, but they can come up and keep you in the game, and they're not, held together with rubber bands and string like some of these other pitchers are on other teams. When a couple of guys go down, they're just looking for anybody to come up and throw some pitches and keep you in the game. It's funny. I was talking to one of the Dodgers coaches last week when the Dodgers were in town, and we were comparing the 2 rosters. And you may laugh at that and say, okay, yeah, the Dodgers versus the Guardians roster, or the Dodgers versus any roster, right?
Right.
However, when you look at the pitching situation, one of the points that this coach brought up to me was one of the things he likes about Cleveland is he says, you got a lot of very good young pitching. And then when somebody gets hurt, you just go down and bring up one of those young pitchers who don't have a lot of miles on them. You look at the Dodgers staff, they've got a lot of the big names. They've got Blake Snell. He's out. They've got Tyler Glasnow. He's out right now. Evan Phillips has been a very good bullpen guy. He's out right now. They've got other injuries. Dustin May is pitching, but he's been hurt. You've got Clayton Kershaw, but got a lot of miles on him. So that's one of the things that if you look at the Dodgers staff, they got all the big names. But then you look at the Guardian staff. They're both talented, but that's one of the things, and I thought it's a great point too, that allows the Guardians to be so competitive is their good young pitching. They rarely have guys pitching past their primes. They rarely have pitchers on long-term deals that, are in their mid-30s. And that's what allows this pitching staff to be as effective as it is.
I'll tell you what, speaking of the pitching staff, it looks like our guy, Emmanuel Clase, has got it revved up again. How impressive has he been his last couple of outings, Al?
Oh, he's been fantastic. He looks like the old Emmanuel Clase, which is exactly what Cleveland needs. He's finally been able to get some rest. He had that shoulder discomfort, so they held him out for almost a week back in April. Ever since then, he looks like he's kind of back to the old Clase, and he hasn't had a pitch 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row, which has been a problem for, him. I don't want to say it's a problem. I mean, my goodness, he had a .6 ERA last year, but trying to keep a reliever healthy when they have to pitch a lot, it's tough to do. So if you can find him some rest, you can see how effective he is. So when he pitched, Saturday and Sunday against the Angels, well, he was off on Thursday because it was a team off day. He was off on Friday. He's off today because the team is off. So he'll be ready to go tomorrow in New York. And he went 3 up, 3 down in both innings on Saturday and Sunday. So if you can, and you can't always do it too. Sometimes you need him to pitch 3 consecutive days, or sometimes 4 out of 5 days. But hopefully, if they can find places to get him some rest, he is so effective when he's got adequate rest. And it's tough though. It's tough to get relievers, that sort of rest. But when Clase has it, he's as effective as anybody that's ever been a closer in this game.
Al Palowski is our guest, Cleveland Guardians TV in-game and post-game host. You can check him out, CLE Guardians TV. Al, kind enough to join us here on the Sam Berkman Show today, 1310 WDPN. All right, Al, from the mound to the batter's box, and I know the numbers and the average isn't going to blow many people away, but I got to tell you, Gabby Arias and Nolan Jones look like they're starting to cook a little bit. What do you see?
Yeah, Nolan Jones is finally, as I told you earlier, getting some results. If you look at his hard hit percentage, just under 50%. That's I mean, that's incredible. There's nobody on the team close to him. The next closest player is hard hit percentage is 44%, and that's very good. Most guys are at 40 or a little bit below that. So that's what's incredible is you look at his hard hit percentage, and then you look at his batting average going into that Dodgers game last Wednesday. I mean, he was well below 200. Now, of course, he's over because he's gotten hot, but it tells you that he has got to be the unluckiest hitter on the planet. So the odds were going to eventually swing into his favor. And now those line drives are finding holes. Now those deep balls are not being caught at the wall because they're finally starting to even out a little bit. So that's what I see with Nolan Jones. Arias is a guy that he's always had it in as a hitter. You always saw that. But he's paying more attention to detail now. He's got a little bit better plan when he goes up to the plate. He's spending more time on his game. He's starting to do the little things. I mean, the talent was never a question. He doesn't just have major league talent. I mean, he's got all-star type of talent. But there's a lot of guys that have had all-star type talent. They barely had a career in Major League Baseball for other reasons. If Arias can continue on the path he's on mentally and with how he's preparing now for each at bat, I mean, look out. This kid could be good for a long time.
Well, crazy moment in yesterday's game. Moncada goes up as a pinch hitter. He gets penalized because he took too long to get in the box, so he gets a strike called. He gets into the box. He takes two. He thought he only had two strikes, and the third one ended up being the third for a strikeout. He went out of his mind. He just wasn't aware of the situation. I'm not sure what happened there, but have you seen that before doing games this year or last year yet with that pitch clock?
No, I haven't seen it. It hasn't happened in one of the Guardians games, especially where a hitter was unaware. But that's been Moncada's problem. Talk about another guy with a ton of talent. That's Yohan Moncada. He's got a ton of it. But, the knock on him has been that he hasn't always played the game wisely. So, maybe some details escape him. That one certainly did. And Ron Washington and the bench was saying something to the home plate umpire when he put his arm up. But he put his arm up. That's a strike. You've got nobody in the box. And then they were complaining. And then he put two hands. He pointed at the batter's box. He said he pointed to his watch, pointed at the batter's box, and said, "I don't have a hitter. If I don't have a hitter, that's a strike." That's the way it is with Major League Baseball. So even though you're pinch hitting, you have to get the hitter in the box in X amount of time. And where Moncada was is a mystery. I kept looking down from the press box, calling the game. I'm looking at the on deck circle, and I'm seeing Zach Neto in the on deck circle. So the umpire looked at him. And he looked like, well, I'm not up. Obviously he wasn't because he's the guy that was coming up after the 9 slot in the order. So that's what the penalty is. I mean, that's really out of the umpire's hands too. So they got a little bit upset with him at first, and then I think they realized it is what it is. You've got a certain amount of time to get your batter into the box. And if you don't do so, it's a strike. And then if you'd have waited another 30 seconds or whatever the time is on it would have been strike 2.
Strike 2, yeah.
So the bench knew it. Al Moncada didn't know it. Everybody else knew it. Is a mystery to us. But glad he didn't because he took a pitch that he might have swung at and hit. He's an awfully talented hitter. He might have swung at that with 2 strikes. But when he thought the count was 1-1, he thought, breaking ball, I'm going to hold off on this one. And Hunter Gaddis painted the corner on it.
Unbelievable. Al, I appreciate the time as always. Have a great series with the New York Yankees. And, hey, we're right back home against the Astros this weekend. So, busy baseball time, but it's a great time of year, and we always appreciate the time you give us here on the program. I appreciate it. Thanks again.
You got it, Sam. Great to talk to you.